Our next startup presenting is PreCheck Health, and it's CEO Larry Biggs.
My name is Larry Biggs. I'm CEO of PreCheck Health Services. We are a Florida-based corporation with our headquarters in Denison, Texas. We're a public company traded under the symbol HLTY. I first want to share the current state of affairs in our industry. And most folks know this, but let me just cover it because it makes an impact on what our device does and is capable of. So everybody's going to preventative care. For the first time in my life, the government has figured out something before private enterprise. They figured out that if we don't stop chronic disease now, and we've got to pay $100,000 a year for every person who has diabetes or cardiac disease, we're going to go broke. So they have come up with a program over the last few years, Medicare, Medicaid, basically saying, look, let's prevent these diseases so they don't happen. Doctors historically have not really had the devices or the capability to do that, and even if they did, they really didn't get great reimbursement. There wasn't great CPT codes, there wasn't great kinds of revenue for them to make it. The industry was more of a reactive. If you're sick, let me fix it, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time preventing it because I don't get paid for it. I don't have a lot of time today to go over how wonderful our system is. Obviously, I'm biased, right? But what it does, it looks for biomarkers that are precursors to disease. We want to find those things that are going to manifest itself into a chronic disease, and we want to stop it. So we look for autonomic nervous system dysfunction, endothelial dysfunction, neuropathies. We look for insulin resistance. So a number of things that I can't get into all the details today. I would love to. But we're actually giving data to the physician to be able to recognize these things well before they are onset. So the device is called the PC8B medical device. It's got 5 FDA clearances. It generates very nicely from the CPT codes. In my state, it gets $700 to $800 for every screening that it does. In Texas, where we're headquartered, it's $400 to $500. So it's well reimbursed, and the doctor can actually justify utilizing our screening. Ease of operation, 7-minute non-invasive test, and it's patented as well. This is a patient setup. We use 4 technologies. Our key to our technology, we use 4 standard technologies, but our algorithm is where the magic is. We actually get a lot more information out of those 4 technologies by combining it and figuring out different things, such as we can see diabetes as accurately as a blood test. No one of those technologies would be able to do that, but combining, looking at everything, we can actually figure out. I'm not a clinical guy, so I can't explain how it does it, but we have some really progressive abilities to produce data that's very interesting to these doctors for diagnosis. Here's just a quick example of what we call the dashboard of what the physician gets. It really is a wonderful tool that shows a lot of the risk factors of all the different areas. We test for 153 different things. So, and this is a wonderful tool to work with the patient. Here's a quick example. We use plasmography for endothelial dysfunction measurement, right? We put it on a scale of 1 to 5. If you're a 1, you're a healthy person. If you're a 5, we know that your arteries are basically losing their elasticity. Maybe there's a blockage. We don't know the specific problem, but we know early on that the doctor's going to see this, and the doctor needs to intervene and start looking at this. Here's a great example. Diabetes actually starts, or I shouldn't say diabetes starts, but some of the problems of diabetes start 10 years ahead of time. We know that if you have autonomic nervous system dysfunction, and we know if you have endothelial dysfunction, you're highly, highly likely to have diabetes within the next 10 years. So if a physician can use this information early on and correct those dysfunctions, it's highly likely that you'll never become diabetic in the end. This is what Medicare and Medicaid is looking for, because they're reimbursing us to do this because they know it's going to save them money over time. So anytime you have a win-win-win, it's a wonderful thing, right? The patients benefit because they are not going to get chronic diseases such as diabetes and cardiovascular disease. The physician benefits because his patients are going to be cared for very well and not get those diseases. The physician gets reimbursed for these tests, so he gets paid for what he's supposed to do, which all of you know sometimes is not happening today. And then we benefit as a company because we actually get a fee every time that test is run. So everybody wins in this scenario. The business model is very simple. We actually license with the doctor for $500 a month. We ask the doctor to commit to 12 months. We basically we use the doctor's NPI code, and we basically do all the billing and processing of the test, right? The money goes into his bank account, we ACH our fees out of it, and basically the doctor gets to use the device as many times as he wants to. So we don't think that a doctor is ever going to take this device out, because by the time 12 months passed, if you did 2 tests a month, you're paying for your licensing fee. It's really that simple. So we're here today because we're out looking for equity to actually execute this business model, right? If you look at my numbers and my projections and my Proforma, it looks more like a software company than it does a medical device company. The reason for that, and we'll get into the details in just a moment, another slide, the reason for that is because we're compounding our recurring revenue. Every time I put a device in, it's more annual revenue that's going to repeat itself. So in year 1, for an early stage company, we actually get profitable, which is pretty good. I've run a number of companies, and getting profitable that early is an achievement. In year 2, it starts getting a little bit ridiculously good. You know, we're doing $40 million in revenue, $16 million in net profit. In year 2, we're already at a 42% net profit percentage. In year 3, we do 80 million, bring 40 million to the bottom line. This is where we kind of plateau off, but we plateau off about 50% profit. That is a software type company, not a medical device company. That's because of this recurring revenue. So if we looked at the value of our company, we're a public company again, remember, so our stock is around $1 right now. In year 2, if we do 16 million, you got to look at where multiple of that is. Public companies are valued by what their multiple is. This space, the multiples are between 20 and 45. I'm not even estimating that we'll get 20 to 45. I'm saying we'll get 10 to 20. But that gets us into a multi-$100-million company, billion-dollar company. You can do the math yourself. In year 3, if we're doing 42 million at a 10 multiple or 42 million at a 20 multiple, you know, we're getting up there at a billion-dollar market cap. So the summary, the company holds the exclusive rights to PC8B. We have strong, financially stable customers, physicians. They're intelligent, they usually don't go out of business, and they're basically able to pay for things. Historical experience in the medical space, I had a prior company that sold these devices. I just like this model better, and that's why we've revised what we're doing. Recurring revenue model, compounded growth. Each device that is put in generates the company between as low as $60,000, as high as $120,000 of revenue annually. That's compounded. Every time you put one in, you don't have to sell a new one to get that revenue and make that profit. I've got the existing ones making profit, and then I'm compounding on top of that and generating more revenue. We're already a public company. We're already publicly listed. Our plan is to actually uplist to one of the senior exchanges, the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange. And I've done this before. I've had a company that started on the OTC. We are a fully reporting company on the over-the-counter market. We expect to uplist. My prior company I took from 25 cents to a $29 price, and we got to a $1.2 billion market cap. I had 550 employees, so I've been to this rodeo before. I know how to do this, and this product is far superior than my last product, which is a video conferencing device, which was basically the fastest device at that time of doing video processing. This is much better because my last business did not have a recurring revenue model. So who's going to do this? I talked about myself a little bit. I've got a couple of patents in my name. Basically, I've taken a large public company. I know how to scale a company. That's my skill. I'm not a healthcare guy. I'm not a clinical guy, but I do know how to scale companies and grow companies. Justin Anderson was actually a third-party vendor of ours when I used to sell these devices, and he used to do the processing for us, and we hired him to do that processing. I thought it was wise to bring him into the company, make him a partner, and put him at Chief Operating Officer, so we have that under our own tent, if you will. Doug Samuelson, Chief Financial Officer. He's run a number of public companies. Anybody who understands a public company knows you got to understand the SEC, you got to understand, audits, you got to understand all the rules and regs, you got to understand, all the different things that are important in a public company. And then Jacob Anderson, who happens to be Justin's brother, is our sales director. So I only have 10 minutes to cover all this, so I apologize for my New Jersey speed as well, but I if you guys have any questions, please ask now.
I have a question regarding the technology which you use to diagnose people. Is it like thermography or something? What exactly you use to identify the pre-disease stages?
So it's basically four, I'm not a technical guy, so I can't explain it well, but it's four technologies that are combined together. You have plasmography, you got bioimpedance, galvanic skin response, and you have a ankle brachial device. So those four technologies are combined in the algorithm to give you the response. I don't think that completely answers your questions, but I've given you the most knowledge that I have.
My second question is...
It's $1 for a second question, but go ahead.
That's regarding the listing here of your company. So you're OTC listed or?
No, we're listed. We're actually a fully reporting pink sheet over-the-counter stock, but our intent is obviously to uplist. So, in the back, hiding by the light.
How much are you trying to raise, and what is your use of cash for that raise?
$3 million raise minimum. Under the $3 million raise, $1 million for operations, $1 million is for compensation. That's for reps, basically, and then $1 million of it is to buy units. So our plan says that covers us for the first 10 months of devices. We'd prefer a $5 million raise, and the additional $2 million will go directly to purchasing products. So that allows us to go and use debt a little bit later instead of right in the beginning. Does that answer your question?
What's your valuation?
Right now we're at $14 million, but of course, it really should be $100 million because I'm biased. So, yes, sir. Yes, we can. Go ahead.
I believe, so next presentation. So at the beginning of your slides, you had a whole list of medical conditions that could be, identified.
Screened is what we use. Screened, yes.
So if the doctor decides he's going to send one of those patients to a specialist, does the specialist then take that test from there?
Absolutely. So as an example, I'll give you a quick example. Let's say we see you kind of fail your endothelial health part of the test. I mean, the biomarker shows that you're high risk. Go get a carotid artery ultrasound, or go get a stress test, or so we're giving data to the doctor. We're not diagnosing, we're giving data. Correct.
Larry, what is PT8B?
It's PreCheck 8 biomarkers. Our marketing team wasn't really on the ball the day we named this thing, okay? But, but I got to tell you, a lot of medical devices in this industry weren't on the ball, so, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is your screening menu complete, or is it getting
No, it's complete. It won't grow any further. Having said that, just got a patent on detection of diabetes, right? But you have to still go through CMS and get it reimbursed. But the dashboard is pretty much static, because we're really looking at things. And by the way, if you're looking at some of the new cardiology articles that are coming out, they're basically saying even more than blockages, you're looking at autonomic nervous system, or specifically parasympathetic suppression, heart rate variability, endothelial health. Those are causing the heart disease even more than the blockages. So it's really interesting. But unfortunately, I'd say maybe that we're pretty static at where we are. Yes, sir. Well, we have a number of taxonomies that we work with, even OBGYN and so on and forth, but I'll answer the question a little bit differently if you don't mind. Our low-hanging fruit are functional medicine, anti-aging, because they get the preventative right away, okay? Next in line, general practitioner, but we have cardiologists, we have basically OBGYN, we have a number of them, but obviously my claim to fame here, guys, as a business, now I'm not a clinical guy, I put 850 units out. With these physicians, I'm generating $42 million in profit annually, right? 850 units out of 1 million docs in America. That's not difficult. So the taxonomy is not, I don't mean to dismiss your question, but it's not that big of a deal for me because I only got to find 850 in 3 years.
So if you segmented the spectrum of doctors, which is the practice that has the most
The most volume, believe it or not, would be the general practitioner because, they see the most illness. So my device, which I didn't mention, under Medicare, Medicaid, I'm allowed to check twice a year for wellness with no underlying, issues, and 4 times a year for basically blood pressure. So I think I'm running out of time here. Dan's kind of giving me the hook, if you will. So I'll give one more question. Sorry, Dan. Go ahead.
So right now, are your sales essentially U.S. or U.S.?
We have a U.S. exclusive. We don't have an international exclusive. It's only the United States. Dan, it's up to you.
So, just first to clarify before asking the question, so you're not providing any diagnostics?
No, we're not. Screening data only.
So, what have you considered doing this as a franchise opportunity where
It is a great idea, and my partner actually owns medical practices, but I will tell you the low-hanging fruit first. I'm not saying we won't do that, but it's not built in my business model right now. One more.
how many field-based systems do you have?
Well, I had a prior company where I sold the system for $50,000. So last year I sold $3.5 million worth of systems selling them, okay? All out, I'd say there's probably less than 3,000 in the country right now. So it's kind of my company, basically a handful because we just launched this new company, the public company. But I sold them last year, so it's kind of a hard question to answer. But I hope that makes sense. Okay, I hope you understand my New Jersey. I thank you very much. Take care.